Welcome back. We're starting a new chapter about strings. Strings are just another data type in Python. We learned about integers and floats and booleans, and today we're introducing strings. Strings are, we call them a collection data type. That means that they're comprised of other smaller pieces. The smaller pieces in a string are characters. So every character is a piece in a string. We also say strings are sequential, so it means the characters are in a certain order. But let's see how we define a string. So let's create another variable. Let's call it new string1. We can simply create a string by assigning it a value. And the value can be in double quotes, okay, or it could be in single quotes, right, if we don't have any other apostrophe inside, or it can be in triple quotes, and that will make it be able to span multiple lines, right? We can also create a string variable that has the value of an empty string. So I used two quotes. There's nothing here in between, not even a space. A space would actually make it a string with one character, the space character. But when there's absolutely no character, we call this an empty string, and it's still a very valid string. No problems with it. It's a string, a sequence of 0 characters. So besides the definition with the assignment operator like we have seen before, and then just entering the value on the right hand side, we can use the str function, which it's kind of like the int and the float function. It's kind of like typecasting. So we can think about it like basically typecasting some value as a string. So str, and then in parentheses will be the value of a string. Or if you actually want to create one that is empty, you just call the string function but with nothing in parentheses. This will create an empty string. Okay, besides creating strings, what else can we do? What operations can we use with strings? We can use the plus operator. The plus operator concatenates two strings together. Let's watch this. Let's say string1 has the value cu, and then string2 has the value buffs. Then we can create another string, for example string3, and if we say string3 equals to string1 plus string2, so here's a plus operation where both operands are strings. Then if we print string3, and by the way, we can print string variables just like we can print other types of variables. Let's run this and see what we get. So we got a new string cu buffs where there is no space in between them. Basically the characters of the second string are added after the characters of the first string, forming a whole new string. Now if we would have said this a little bit differently, so let's say, let's change this a little bit. Let's say C4 would be CU, and then we would just say S4, not C4, sorry, S4 would be S4 plus buffs. Right? You would think that we are just basically updating the value of S4. But actually concatenation doesn't work exactly that way. Instead, it creates a new string object which is actually found in memory at a new string address. To check this, you could do the following. You could print here the ID, the identifier. Notice here the ID, the identity of an object, usually returns a memory address, which is just a sequence of numbers, but we're just going to run it like this without worrying much what that means. And then after we have added buffs onto the original string 4, we can try to print its ID again, and we will notice that S4 is basically now a new string, a new object at a new location. Okay, so this was the original memory address of S4. The new string doesn't modify the original string object, but instead it creates a new string object that will be found at a new location in memory. Okay, so concatenation is kind of like gluing together strings, but we also have seen gluing together stuff before. So let's consider we already have S1 and S2. We have seen gluing together in print statements if we separate things by comma. So we would say S1, comma, S2. The difference is that in the first case we got CU buffs all in one string with no spaces. This is actually basically different because it introduces a space between every one of the arguments of the print function. And also we know that we can glue different types of parameters with a comma, so we could actually be saying print and maybe S1 and maybe 3.144 and then S2, and this would work too. So that's one thing to realize, that when you're gluing together things in a print statement, you can have variables of different data types, which is basically different here, right? The plus operator performs addition on numerical data types and performs concatenation on string data types. So here CU buffs or CU and some other type in there, it all becomes basically a big string. Now the multiplier operator, what basically it does is it replicates the string. So let's do a little example. Let's say we have some variable n and it has the value 5. If I want to create a new string that is equal to S1, which is still CU, times n, we'll basically get a new string, and I will show it to you in a moment, which has S1 repeated, concatenated 5 times. Okay, CU, 5 times. Okay, next we're going to talk about indexing and how we can use different functions, different operations like the length of the strings